moment ever. Breakdown defensively, nobody stays with Stockton. Barkley has to come out.
Hey guys, this is Dominique Wilkins.
Hey, this is Sean Kemp.
This is Gary Payton.
Hey, this is Pau Gasol.
NBA fans, what's up? This is Vince Carter here.
Hey, what's up? This is Matt Barnes. If you're an old school NBA fan like I am, make sure you check out the Basketball Time Machine with my man Sean David.
Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome back to the Basketball Time Machine. My name is Sean David. Thanks for tuning in. Let's talk some old school NBA Golden Age hoop. Now in today's episode, I want to give you a different insight of my basketball fandom, so to speak. Now in my childhood, I had a couple of players that I just did not like. And I hope that I'm not the only guy who has some of those. And some of those players actually changed my mind like 180 degrees. Like I really love them nowadays, simply because I have more basketball understanding in comparison to being a kid. But yeah, I will give you my top 5 players that I used to hate as a kid and now think differently. But before we start, small favor, if you like the content, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I would say, let's get right into it. So the first guy that I want to talk about is Bill Laimbeer. Now obviously we know back in the days, back in the 1980s, he was a big part of the 2 championships of the Detroit Bad Boy Pistons. Now I was a Chicago Bulls fan. I love Jordan, Pippen, Horace Grant, B.J. Armstrong, Paxson and all of those guys. So naturally I could not be a Pistons fan. But then there was that one guy who, in my childish understanding, could only push people around and get on their nerves, but could not do anything on the basketball court, which is totally bullshit. I would have loved to have such a guy on my team. Why? I know for 100% I can count on him. He would challenge me in every single practice, and I'm 100% sure that he would get along with most of his teammates. And all that matters is at the game, you need a guy who really got your back and he would do whatever it takes to win. I love that mentality. Do whatever it takes to win. Now, he could shoot. He was a decent rebounder. He was a solid defender for what he could do. And he was super smart on the court. So Bill Laimbeer, I did him wrong. Great player. Hated him as a kid. Love him as an adult.
Don't leave him open out there.
And I know what you're going to say. You're going to be like, oh, Bill Laimbeer, you know, he hit people, he was dirty, blah, 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 blah. You know, all them lies you've been told. But let me tell you about the truth about Bill Laimbeer. 13 years, Bill Laimbeer missed 9 games. No load management. No, my back hurt. No, I can't play. Every single night, my teammate was dependable, reliable, showed up every night to play. Well, Laimbeer led the league in rebounding. Great outlet passer, shoot it, run, dunk, you name it. If we don't have Bill Laimbeer on our team, the Detroit Pistons, we never win a championship.
Now the next guy that I have on my list, I did him so wrong. And I actually had the chance to apologize to him, Detlef Schrempf. Now the one thing with Detlef was, back in the days when he was playing for the Indiana Pacers and the Seattle Supersonics, now I was living in Germany and he was our poster child. He was the only guy who was successful in the NBA. He made the All-Star team. He played on successful teams. He was efficient. So people really, really hyped him over here. And I always thought as a kid when I was like 7, 8, 9 years old, this guy is super boring. He can't jump. He looks really, really like he's super slow and everything. Not understanding that he was such a smart player and he had great fundamentals and he literally could do almost everything. He was a great passer for his size. He was a great scorer. He could average 20 if he needed to. Obviously, when he was playing with the Sonics, he had Payton and Camp, so he did not need to score that much. But like his third scoring option, he was perfect. Then you had a guy who would play smart defense, always seeing the help side, always doing cover-ups and all this kind of stuff. So he really knew what he was doing. And just because he couldn't dunk that crazy, there was no reason for me to dislike him. So I think like 3 years ago or so, I had an interview with him and I actually apologized to him, telling him that I was completely wrong and that it was important for me to apologize.
I think of Detlef Schrempf, I think of Hakeem Olajuwon, there's a Steve Nash.
Obviously the foot-eye coordination necessary in soccer, I think it translates. Also, I think when you play soccer, it's not very individual. You play with other people. You see the field. And Detlef was a guy, obviously we're showing clips of his offensive talent, but he was a guy that was a great passer, a great facilitator. He could score from outside. He was really strong and physical, could post you up. Just played the game the right way. And I know I played against him and he was just a matchup problem. But really skilled, saw the whole court.
The next player that I have on my list is Kobe Bryant. Yes, there was a time when Kobe entered the NBA where I did not like him, and it was pretty easy to explain. Now, when he started coming from high school to the NBA, at first I thought, okay, young kid, I could actually identify myself with him. But then after like 2 or 3 years, I felt like, okay, this guy, A, is way too cocky and too confident for his age, and he's copying Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan being my favorite player, I did not like that he was basically doing everything that Jordan does, even the mannerisms. It was just too much for me to handle. But the older I got, the more wiser I got with my thinking about that. If you copy a player, why wouldn't you copy the best player of all time? Why wouldn't you look at his footwork? Why wouldn't you look at how he trains? Why wouldn't you look at his mindset and those things? That's exactly what you're supposed to do. If you want to get information from somebody, ask the greatest player that ever lived. So, yeah, it was really stupid of me back in the days also. I love that Kobe also had this do whatever it takes to win the game, that he also had that Mamba mentality. So yeah, it's unfortunate that he's gone, but I'm very appreciative for him and his career, and I really liked also that he opened up at the end of his career, being more approachable for his teammates and everything. So rest in peace, Kobe.
When his family moved back to Philadelphia, that time spent alone on the court paid off, as Kobe announced his arrival to the basketball world. He was the top high school player in the country, breaking Wilt Chamberlain's scoring records, becoming a celebrity at 16. Kobe's next step may have seemed ambitious, but with his basketball pedigree and work ethic, it was an easy decision.
I, Kobe Bryant, have decided to take my talent to take my talent to the NBA. Well, it's an opportunity of a lifetime.
And the next player on my list is the great fundamentals, Tim Duncan. Yes, believe it or not, there was a time where I did not like Tim Duncan. Number one, he was too boring for me as a child. Now, I was used to guys like Hakeem Olajuwon, guys like Shaq. You know, they all had something really nice about them. Something like, obviously, Hakeem Olajuwon, those great moves. Shaq, the power, the finesse, the skill set that he had for his size. And even the Georgetown boys like Mutombo, Ewing, and Mourning, they were more interesting to me than what Tim Duncan was doing. It was just too boring for me. Now, obviously, and I have to be honest, I wanted Keith Van Horn to become the number one pick. I actually thought that Keith Van Horn was the second coming of Larry Bird. I was a child, I was easy to impress, but I liked Keith Van Horn's game. Now, obviously, in hindsight, we know how it turned out, and Tim Duncan became one of the greatest power forwards of all game, became one of the greatest players of all game. And now, as a coach, I would love to have Tim Duncan on my roster.
I could speed up and make you play at my pace. I could frustrate you. I could do this and I could do that. But with him, it didn't matter. He was going to play at his own pace. He was going to get to his spots. He was going to shoot the shot he wanted to shoot. And I just had to make that shot as tough as possible. You know what I'm saying? With a guy like KG, like, I know what he's finna do, so I can make him do something different. Well, like, he might make a tough shot, but I can manipulate the way he took shots and things like that. Because KG dominant right shoulder guy. I know this. When playing me, you can't go right shoulder. I'm sitting on it. You might go every now and again, but you know that I know this is the way you want to go. So I'm shading that way, so you can't bring the ball that way. You gotta go do something different. But with Tim, the only thing Tim knew that he couldn't play with the ball in the iron with. So when Tim went to make his move, he made it.
And the last guy on my list is John Stockton. Yes, we all know John Stockton. Nowadays, unfortunately, he kind of got the reputation to be this dirty player, which to me, in my opinion, even if, yeah, so what? There were so many dirty players back in the days, and you need them. You need them. Especially when you are that short. I mean, he was not the shortest guy, but he was not a really, really tall point guard. And obviously, he was not the physical gifted one, but high basketball IQ and a pass-first mindset. I mean, back in the days, almost everybody was like that. Nowadays, you really have to praise guys who have that mindset. Like, I was a point guard too, and a pretty tall one for the standard that we have here. And to have a player that understands that your job is to make your teammates better and to get everybody involved, to get everybody happy so that they're also willing to play defense and that kind of stuff. John Stockton was the ideal player when it comes to that. He knew how to get his teammates happy. He knew how to motivate everybody to run the breaks, to make themselves open. So, yeah, I love John Stockton. Actually, yes, he's my favorite point guard of all time now.